Center board representative.
Let's back up just a little. My only worry is where are we
going to go with this?
Yeah.
Are we leaking? Can we make it through the winter? We can't do anything now anyway.
No, we can't. What I am just concerned about, though, and I guess that would be the part that I want to share with you, is, you know, if we take another month or two before we can, and if we couldn't find someone yet that we're not willing to pay, or we find somebody that we can pay, we're just moving along so that by about February, March, we better have, I'm guessing, timeline, we better be asking for bids on specs to just get the process in place for spring, if that's what you're hoping for. We have some, I'll call it very small, minor work done a couple of times a year. The wind blows from a direction that we don't want it to blow from, and it's pelting down rain at the same time, we get a leak or two. But the people who check it for us check it routinely, and generally there's not a lot big that's going on. Okay, so I can tell you that. But I just want you to help make some decisions about, so now what? Are you hoping that I can do for the next step of this?
So before we ask for bids, we have to decide what type of roof we want.
You can ask for bids for both.
You can. Absolutely. You can have bids for both.
That's what I was going to say. Can we just jump to the bid stage, and maybe that will help us if we're not getting anybody to give us, besides this other company?
That's kind of what I was looking at. I would say that we've got specs to do the roof that we talked about as far as the slope tin roof. And if we have one bid, basically a bid, even though that's not what we asked for, to do what we have already up here, we could have that company rebid it again if that's what they want to do, and contact another company to say, just come up here and bid what we have, because that's basically what that company did. And then we'd have a couple bids for what we have up here right now, and then hopefully 2 or 3 bids for what we asked Septicon to provide for us. So at least you have knowledge on that.
And we have companies that we can get bids from, the Septicon, okay?
In fact, after the Septicon fellow was here at the joint board meeting, the next couple days to email back and he said, you know, you really might want to encourage your board to bid both types of roofs, so they really have a clear picture of what some of those differences might be. So then, you know, rather than getting one kind and then later saying, gosh, now that we've got those, we kind of wish we would have seen quotes or bids from someone else.
And as a guess, if you would actually advertise for bids underneath the Septicon slope roof kind of deal that they have going, that same company might be able to give you a bid for what we have out there right now. I mean, that'd be something that could be, that same person could give 2 bids, same company. I would like to keep moving forward with that process, and getting bids right now certainly doesn't hurt us. I think that, you know, as far as opening of the bids and all that kind of information, that's the one thing we've got right now that's up in the air a little bit. If there is a bid on the table, that wasn't really what we were asking for at the time. That needs to be kept.
Well, and that's why none of you have seen it. It's sitting in the envelope, and
that needs to be kept, whatever. And I think that company needs to be able to rebid, to come back and relook at it.
And we have talked to that company to say we were hoping for specifications, not necessarily a bid, but if this moves along with the kind of roof you bid on, you'll have a chance to rebid. So they understand that part. But again, it's why it's just laying in the envelope over there, and it wasn't in your board package to take a look at.
Did you want to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion to move forward in the roofing project. I'll leave that up to the administration. If you need to talk to Septicon again to see how we should proceed, or if you already know, that's fine, or if you want to have a site meeting or whatever. I'll make that motion. Then we move forward with bids on the roofing project, both sets of bids. Yes.
Both types.
Both types, yeah.
Second.
I'll second.
So anyway, the only thing I was going to ask is how many square foot are we looking for?
This is big.
I
don't really know. They just got one.
I was trying to find a number
Well,
that
maybe
everybody
there's 2 options where we could do parts and then maybe do the other part later or anything.
Yeah.
We'll go in there and leave them off into the gym. Yeah.
I think that's in Septicon's bid package, so maybe.
it might be on, it might even be in that other envelope over there, that it's right on the very front about what the square feet are, but I don't have it right.
65,000 square feet or something.
I think that idea about getting it settled by January or February is certainly a good objective. Get this done and so that we'll be one of the main bidders or main things to get it accomplished.
So really, as soon as, your goal, I'm guessing, then, is when school's out, we've got somebody, our primary goal would be somebody's here starting to work so that the project's finished and everything's taken care of before kids are back in the building again.
That'd be the easiest.
Well, I would imagine that a lot of those construction firms are lining up spring work or summer work
Yeah.
now, and so you're going to have some choice. I mean, our church is, we $200-some thousand for our church, and we're not trying to line up people right now to, in preparation when they're going to be working on it. At least you got some choices, you got stuff with somebody who's left over.
Yeah. Maybe we should even push that for January.
There are Harkin grants again this year. There haven't been for a couple, 3 years. There are fire safety grants, which this project would not qualify for, but there are construction grants. For our size school district, the grant can range up to $500,000.
That's what we want.
Right, I know. Well, like the other one is 500 too, so I'm sure they'll give it to both of us. In fact, that was almost the same answer as somebody on their board made the comment about. New construction, so several of the grants that were last awarded in a small school size were for a $12 million new school building, and it was a $500,000 grant toward that. But part of what schools are eligible for in this grant is to reduce class size, establish preschool programs, before and after school programs, modernizing current facilities, to create or expand spaces within the existing structure, or to acquire and convert existing buildings for use as a schoolhouse. Expect the district to pay 75%, and the grant can be no more than 25% of whatever your total costs are. The grant is due December 30th, and it was just released last week. I think probably we should apply for it. And I'd be very skeptical that either district would get it, because they're looking at new buildings. If you look through the previously funded program or previously funded projects, they're $8 million buildings, they're $12 million buildings. But you know what? We'll probably feel bad if we didn't think that we at least applied for it. So at the December board meeting, what I'll be asking both districts to do, because there's two separate projects, that would be to approve the application. I don't know that the application will be done, but just approve the fact that we're going to apply for the grant. And by then, I should have some more information for you. It's pretty clear cut. I mean, there's not much room for talking people into anything. It's based a lot on your financial status and what are the projects you've had, age of your facilities, and really evidence of need. And the big issue is evidence of need financially. So you can't talk them into something when they want to look at your audit. But I also think that our taxpayers need to know that we would apply for it and at least try for the funds. So that was just an FYI to you, and we'll move forward on that. But next month we'll put it on the agenda for approval of application of the grant. So.
We got a motion and a second on the floor, right? I didn't forget. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Okay.